Some of you may have got a box in the mail like this. A lot of us have. And you may be wondering what it is and what to do. So I'm going to show you what it's all about. You should have gotten an email, so make sure you check your email with instructions. But if you want to follow my video, basically my video follows the instructions. You'll see in this box that Yarbo sent, there's a Yarbo protective coating. What this is for is basically the power boards. There is sometimes a defect in the coating on it, which allows water to penetrate and get to the wiring and to the circuit board. And this is the power board, so there's a lot of current running through here. And some people's, in rare cases, actually have essentially burned up or melted, and their Yarbo no longer works. So Yarbo has, I think it was really smart. They had a few of these go bad, and they jumped on it and they sent out this Yarbo protective coating. And basically what it does is it's going to fill this leftover area up here above the circuit board. It's going to fill that area and essentially coat all of the top and the wires around the wires. And that will give you extra protection against the water and elements getting in there. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that. First thing, obviously, your module needs to be off. And then what you'll also want is some Q-tips, probably a little dish, and some 90% or higher isopropyl alcohol. This is really good for cleaning electronics because it evaporates really quickly. You do not want water to get into the cracks and the holes, because that's what causes the problems in the first place. And then probably some paper towel just to clean up. And this part is just going to be the cleaning part. We have to get this board. You can see it probably. It gets pretty dirty in here. The board is the most important part. That's where we're going to be putting everything. So you can see there's dirt and sand, and there was even some grass clippings and stuff like that I blew out. So blow that out, get the big debris out of there, and then we're going to take this alcohol and Q-tips and start cleaning off this surface so that the protective coating sticks to it like it's supposed to. Before you do anything in here, before you touch anything in here, you need to make sure to disconnect your battery. To disconnect your battery, you got to go back to the battery compartment back here. You want to lift up towards the back. You can lift up on both sides preferably. I've got one hand, so I'll just do it on one side. Okay, that lifts up. Don't tilt it too much until you take these front tabs out. You don't want to bend them. Put that to the side. Here's your battery connector going into your battery. You want to lift up on this little flap here and then pull out your battery connector. You can kind of wiggle it out. It's pretty stuck in there. So now it's out, your battery's disconnected. You can close this so no water and debris gets in there, and it'll spring back automatically, so you really don't have to do much. And if you want to take your battery out, it's pretty heavy, so be careful. Make sure the wire isn't in the way, and then you can lift it out if you want. See? But now it's safe with the battery disconnected. With the battery disconnected, it's safe to work on your Yarbo. As a double check, you should open this up, just hit the power button somewhere in here, and none of the lights, nothing should come on. If they come on, it'll be a brief second and then they'll shut off if your battery's disconnected. After that happens, you should be safe to touch anything in here without getting electrocuted. So I'm going to show you, it's very hard to get into here. So basically Yarbo wants you to take this little motor here off. This is what tilts your module up and down. So there's just a few things. You just have to pull this pin. I'm gonna kind of show you how to do all this. You're gonna pull this pin, and out is gonna pop this whole pin here. And there's two black spacers here. So just be careful, those will fall out as you pull it. So I'm gonna put you down here. So I'm just gonna hold the spacer so it doesn't fall. And then one of them comes out, you can see, just a little metal spacer. Don't lose that, put it aside. Hold the other one as this pin comes out. Just a big pin. Another spacer. Put those to the side. And then this is gonna be kind of free to move. So make sure it doesn't catch on your wire here. What you'll see is that this actually will only go so far. So if I move it over, it stops right about there. Just be careful, there's this wire right here that you don't want it to catch on anything and get pulled in a wrong way. So just make sure that's not caught on anything as this comes out and rests. So it'll stop when it hits the mark right here, when it hits the metal. So then this is loose here, but there's another pin in the very back, if you can see. And it's another little cotter pin that I'm gonna pull. So you can see, just a little pin there. I'm gonna put that off to the side. And then in the very back is another big metal pin. You can push it out from this side. You can pull it out on this side. And then that little motor is going to drop down. And then it's free to come out. And it's loose, but it's still attached by a wire. So you can't just pull it all the way out. I would recommend just taking it back here and just propping it up out of the way. Try not to hit your speaker or damage your speaker in any way. You can just kind of prop this in here, rest it, and it'll stay back out of your way so you can get to this stuff easier. So now I am just going to take this alcohol. I'm going to take these Q-tips out of my little dish here. Put a little bit of alcohol in the dish. Just enough that I can dip the Q-tips in. If you have a lot of debris, that's what the paper towel is for. Just take some paper towel and wipe off the big stuff first. And then once you get to the little stuff, we can just take this and just start wiping it all down. It's going to take a little bit of time to get it all, but you want it really clean. If you don't have it clean, that protective coating is not going to stick, and it's going to defeat the whole purpose of protecting your board. So I would get the big stuff first. Don't do an amazing job right up front because you're going to need to go over it a few times. Get this wet with the alcohol. Just kind of rotate your Q-tip. Try to get as much of it out. Flick off any of the big stuff. You'll see it's pretty dirty, as it should be if it's getting used. So once your Q-tip's too dirty, just grab a new one and repeat the process. Do this until your board is completely clean and clear, basically like glass. Make sure you get in all the little corners. Make sure you get around every single connector, even the parts you can't see, like behind the connector on the back side. You need to get that really good. Make sure there's no dirt or grime stuck in there. And to the sides, every single side. Just get in there. Now the alcohol, if it pools up at all, it will dry pretty fast. And we'll make sure when we're done cleaning, we give it some time to air dry before we apply the protective coating, because you don't want the alcohol on there or in any of the cracks while the protective coating's trying to go on. So just continue this all the way around everything. Make sure it's nice and clean. And then I'll show you the next step. Now, you can kind of tell how clean it is just based on the Q-tips, so you can still see I'm finding dirt. So I'm going to keep cleaning. Still finding a little bit of dirt, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, that part's pretty clean. I'll go around each of these connectors one more time to be sure. Make sure you get all the edges, all the lips, all the way around, because that's where the stuff is going to stick to completely seal it out. And then when you're done, your Q-tip should start looking very clean. There shouldn't be any more dirt left. You can visually inspect it as well. Make sure there's no pieces of anything. When you're done, hopefully you can see the difference on camera, but it is very shiny. It is very clear like glass. And so now we're just going to sit and wait. Probably 15 minutes. I'm going to probably wait a half hour just to be safe and make sure all of that that alcohol dries out of there before we apply the coating. Okay, for this next part, it's very important that Yarbo is on flat ground. You don't want the protective coating oozing as much over the sides or making it uneven so it's not filling everything completely. So you'll notice my Yarbo is not on the docking station because that's not level. It's in my garage. The other important thing is to make sure it is heated and not super cold out. You need to apply this when it's it's in a warm or relatively warm location, and it's going to be that way for 72 hours. So make sure you have a flat spot, a warm spot, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have some paper towel handy in case this stuff gets anywhere. The other thing, you want to make sure you have gloves. This stuff is not good to get on your skin, so make sure you use protective measures. Make sure you have safety glasses on as well. And then we're basically going to take this package, I'm going to rip it here. And out of it, there's a couple things. So one, you've got your plunger, and two, you've got your needle on the front. So again, it says avoid direct skin contact, wear protective equipment during use. In case of skin contact, wash thoroughly with soap and water. If in contact with eyes, rinse immediately with water and seek medical attention. So, and it also says don't eat it, so make sure you don't do that. But you don't want to throw this down the drain when you're done. You need to throw it in the trash. It's not safe for soil or animals or anything. It's pretty nasty, it sounds like. So before we do anything, I'm just going to put some cardboard down. Just because I don't want it to drip on my cement in my garage. So we'll put this here just to be safe. Okay. So first thing, you put on the little needle. And it just screws on. It's a little difficult to get tight. It's hard to grip. That's pretty good. And then the back looks like it just comes right off. Just pop it off. Try spinning it. No, see, it just unclips, just pops off. So go ahead and pop that off. And then you'll take your pusher rod. You're just going to stick it down in here. Okay, hopefully you have a big hand that you can kind of reach. Otherwise you're going to have to probably use two hands. So the key here is we just want to fill the entire board. And they say you should let it overflow some over the edges. So I'm going to let it overflow a little bit, which makes it a little bit of a mess, but I'd rather protect it than worry about messes. So also you want to make sure you get in all the little crevices and corners. I'm just kind of spread it out. It will sort of spread out itself, but I'm going to help it along here. It's a little hard to push out. Make sure you try to get to the back side. You really want to get to every side. I'm going to try to get back here first, then back here. And if you need to, Go around the other side. Try to get this edge here. It's a little tricky. Let it fall down the side of the connector. And as you can see, it flattens itself out. So that helps. It's kind of a self-leveling. Make sure you get all in between these wires over at this corner. Now it's a little tricky to get to the corners in the backside until the syringe is kind of pushed in further, the little stick. So I'm going to try to fill in this center portion so I can get a little bit shorter. And again, just put it in the center and it'll kind of level itself out. You can see it just kind of blending in and leveling out. Make sure you get it around the connectors. Now, see if I can get all the way. See, now that it's smaller, I can actually fit back here and get this corner really good. Try to keep it in the tray if you can. It is supposed to overflow a little bit, otherwise it won't do its job. I'm going to try to get to this side over here because there's a little bit that I can't quite get to. So I'll just fill it in and then let it level itself out back there. Okay. Now let it sit for just a second here to see how it levels out and if I missed any spots. I've got quite a bit extra still. It's just about to overflow the lip. Get a little more back here. Make sure it got all the way around the connectors, especially in the back where it's hard to see. Looks like it did. I notice these wires up here were not quite filled in. So I think I'm going to fill those in while I have this here. I also see the shrink wrap here has a few gaps. So I'm actually thinking with this extra, I'm just going to try to get some around those. Just extra protection, can't hurt. I mean, no matter what, these wires are going to have to be cut to get them off because they're epoxied in. You can see mine starting to come over the lip a little bit. As I put more in here and it drains down, it'll probably start overflowing a little bit, which is what they said you're supposed to do. I think think they're just trying to make sure it gets a really good seal all the way around and doesn't miss any spots. So doesn't look pretty, but it should get the job done. Luckily, this is the inside of the module, and we don't really care what it looks like. I'm trying not to get it into the black connectors where they connect in case I ever need to disconnect them. We don't need to glue them shut, basically. I think my orange one's a goner anyways. It got epoxied shut. Okay, I'm like right over the lip. I feel pretty good about that. They said make sure to really overflow. I think I'm going to let it sit a second and see. I don't really want it oozing all over the bottom of the unit. So I just got it up on the edge on the lip on the back side, so I'm going to try to do the same thing on the front side. I think that is all of it. It's up on the lip of everything. You can see it's starting to go over this lip right here. If you still have those Q-tips and you want it to look a little bit prettier, just keep it from overflowing completely. We'll see what happens when it dries and starts solidifying, if it gets bigger or stays where it is. Seems to be the original stuff I put in earlier seems to already be solidifying a little bit. So I feel pretty good about that. I think we'll just clean up these little pieces here. I'll keep an eye on it for a little bit, but I think we'll just let that sit. And remember, it's supposed to dry for 72 hours in at least 14 degrees Fahrenheit and minus 10 Celsius. That's pretty cold to me. I would keep it in a little bit warmer spot. It might even dry a little quicker. But yeah, 72 hours, don't use your Yarbo, and then we'll check it out and we'll put it all back together again. I've waited about 72 hours. I came back actually 24 hours later and it was still pretty mushy. 72 hours later though, it's pretty firm. You can still feel a little bit of flex, which you will, because it's kind of a rubbery seal, but it feels pretty solid now. Be careful, after about 10 minutes or so, it forms a film on top and you can't really manipulate it without messing things up. And it does kind of continue to level out over time. As you see, it kind of dripped over the side. Yarbo actually encouraged dripping over the side because it creates a better seal. You want to make sure you don't miss anything, any areas. But I'm kind of a clean freak or perfectionist, so I don't like how nasty that kind of looks. So I'm just going to take a little like razor blade and just kind of cut this off here. We'll see if I can get all the way down. It's definitely like a rubbery, feels almost like a silicone. And that might even be what it is. You can see it's kind of stretchy. It breaks after a certain point, but it's got some stretch to it. So that's gonna be really good for the freezing and thawing to keep the water out. So I'm just gonna clean this up. That's a little better. So as you can see, it's all filled. You can see I got up the wires. That looks like it's sealed pretty good. I did not seal the edges of this connector right here so that the connector could be disconnected. I did take the connector out and look at it, and there seems to be a kind of a rubber grommet in there. Looks like it's made to keep the water out, so I didn't think that was necessary. So now we need to put it all back together. We're going to take this motor for lifting the module. We're going to put it back in its slot back there, and then we're going to take the little pin, the smaller pin, and we're going to slide that through the hole. It went in on the left side. It's a little hard to get your hand back there. Don't lose the pin. You just got to get those holes to align before you can stick it through. So now it's in that side. And then on the other side, we used one of these cotter pins. Slide it in the hole. You'll notice it goes in really easy. It's not really the right size cotter pin for this small thing back here. Just make sure it goes in. Make sure it goes in. It's supposed to go to this center right here. So make sure your other pin sticks in right here. And I'll show you that on this bigger one. So then we lift up. It shouldn't come out. And now we take this pin, stick it in, and what you have to do is you have to actually put in one of these black spacers back in. Get it to find the hole, and then you can go all the way through Once you line it up, you'll see it sticks out here. We need another spacer. So you pull it back, put the spacer in, and then it should go all the way through to this side. And then we put the same pin in, make sure it goes to here, and I'll show you that. So you can see, I'm just pushing this in right there. That's how far it should go. Yarbo had it all the way in. I don't know if that's to keep it out of the way of the module, but normally you just put it here. That's the cotter pin's only supposed to go till there. So now, once this is together, this shouldn't move at all, just a tiny bit of play. And then we're going to put the module back on, hook the battery back up, and power it back on. Make sure everything goes okay.